Hello and welcome back to Connected with Eva. And this is actually my first ever video episode, and I have a very special guest, Elles Ottens, who is an international model, hypnotherapist, and a TEDx speaker. Hello, thank you so much for speaking to me, and thank you so much for this lovely present.
Of course.
This is my first ever video recording,
Mm,
and you're a lovely guest to have. But
thank you.
yesterday, I was quite anxious because
Mm,
I'd never done this before. I was never taught to go out there and do things, to be brave,
yeah.
to to experience new things. So my
Okay.
nervous system was full of discomfort because this is a new room.
Yeah.
It's literally a new room,
Yeah, that as
but
well.
it's something that's a very stressful experience. So last
Mm-hmm.
night I had dreams of us having this conversation
How
today.
did they go?
Oh, well, I woke up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to stop. I need to sleep tonight. I need a good night rest. But I was overtaken
Mm-hmm.
again at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm here today and
Yeah.
I'm doing that,
And you're
which
still
is the
showing
important.
up. Yeah.
Exactly. But I wanted to ask you because it's something
Mm-hmm.
that I heard you talk about how to make our nervous system comfortable
With
with discomfort coming out of our comfort zone if
yeah.
it's something that we haven't had
Mm-hmm.
experience with in the past.
Yeah. I think first of all, it's okay to feel anxious, like I think me as well, like I love to like feel fully comfortable and fully confident in any kind of situation, but I think also life is just not that way sometimes, and that's okay too. At the same time, there's also certain practices that can help you to like ground more and to like really feel as if whatever you're doing that is new and unfamiliar, to make it still feel as if it's familiar. For example, by visualizing, by really imagining like you're already doing something, but with full confidence. Because in a way, like when you were dreaming and like when you were like maybe waking up in the middle of the night and like thinking about it, for example, you're also kind of visualizing. But then like you use it for the other way around,
Yeah.
right? So we're always kind of like visualizing. But if you can use that very intentionally the other way around, then you can also make it feel more safe for your body.
That's funny you're
Yeah.
saying that because I actually tried that last night because I was getting really
Huh.
stressed. You start creating these narratives in your
Yeah.
head and it can become like really strong. So I started visualizing myself after a short meditation, sitting here,
Yeah.
imagining myself sitting down, being comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in the chair, and then asking questions, being comfortable.
Yeah.
And I noticed that shift.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Even immediately, like
exactly,
in, yeah.
we
Uh huh.
control how we react in situations and how we show up in situations.
Definitely.
But a lot of the time, we do that without any awareness.
Yeah. Like it just happens, right? But
Yeah.
I think also it's so easy to kind of think that you can choose your thoughts, but often they just come up, right? But you can choose like if you want to focus on it or
Mm.
not, right? And I think the focus is really important.
It's okay to have anxious thoughts,
Yeah.
and it's something that, for example, myself, I'm not always comfortable with. So when I
Mm-hmm.
have a thought that's negative, I
Yeah.
might start beating myself up because I didn't like the past version of myself that
Mm.
existed only with negative thinking,
Yeah.
with negative
Yeah.
thoughts, and that was my surrounding pull, that was my existence.
Yeah. Like your default in a way, or
Exactly.
yeah.
So now it's almost like it stings me when I have that thought,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And I notice myself like this. I
Like,
react.
I don't
Yeah,
want to.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually, like you say, there's a better way to react to that.
I think it's also just unrealistic, right? Because nobody is only positive. It would also be like kind of dangerous. Like it also has a function, right?
Yeah.
And it's just there to protect you. But sometimes it's too active. So in those situations, like what I like to do is also EFT tapping.
It's becoming increasingly popular. So what's
Mm.
the effect of it?
You tap on like certain points, the acupuncture points. And when you tap on those points, you really calm down your nervous system. And then you basically state how you feel. So, for example, you can say, I feel so nervous right now to record this podcast, right? But even though I feel so nervous, I know that I'll be fine, or I'll be okay, or whatever it is that you want to say to yourself. And then it's really important that you don't make it too positive. Like, for example, don't say like, even though I'm nervous, I know this podcast will be the best one ever, or whatever, like make it like kind of like feel realistic for
Yeah.
you. And then you basically create space for yourself to feel what you need to feel instead of like pushing it down, trying to change it. You just kind of accept it for what it is. And then slowly the feeling also changes when you do it.
Do you need a lot of practice when you start, or is it
No.
something that has that almost immediate effect?
For me, like, and also what I see with my clients, it really is very quickly because, like, even when you do it for like 15 minutes, like, it really helps to like ground and to like really be more present in your body and therefore to like not deny yourself.
I listened to you say something very interesting, how you kind of like to focus on results more than that trauma, that past negative experience
Mm.
when you work with clients. And it's something that I've been thinking a lot about, especially when it comes to therapy, and how sometimes there's a lot of stewing in the trauma, trying
Mm.
to
Yeah,
really
definitely.
understand it
Yeah.
and like, let's really get into that.
Yeah.
And then I kind of have this intuitive thinking that it has a
Uh-huh.
negative effect.
I think so too. Like, I think honestly, if we would have like somebody to talk to every week about what is going well in our life for 1 hour, it would have a very good effect,
Yeah.
instead of like what is not going well. You know what I mean? What
Yeah,
often
yeah,
happens in therapy. Of course, so much more happens. But I think, yes, it's can be super helpful to understand, but it doesn't always need to be that case. Like, for example, I had one client and he was like stuttering a lot. And in hypnosis, we found out that actually on a subconscious level, it was trying to make him feel safe. Because if he would be stuttering, then he wouldn't be seen as arrogant, okay? On a
yeah.
subconscious level, because when he was a kid, he was often bullied for being arrogant, okay? So in that way, it made him feel like he would fit in by stuttering because people wouldn't think he's arrogant. So this insight for him was very important, right? But then I think it's good to understand where things are coming from, but then to move forward to where you want to be now.
Sometimes you become that trauma if you
Yeah.
spend too much time with it.
Yeah, I
So,
think so.
so your childhood was, terrible, and let's talk about that. And, your parents weren't there for you, and this happened
Yeah.
and that happened, and that's really sad. You might almost use it as a shield.
Yeah, like you kind of identify with it and then like use it as an excuse, maybe,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I really liked when I heard you say that,
Thank you.
because it's actually one of the reasons. I know that's like maybe a little controversial, that I haven't really started therapy myself.
Mm,
And then when I heard that, and actually I heard it from someone else as well, that
okay.
you can spend time with a therapist sharing
Mm,
good things and just
yeah,
what's on your mind. And
yeah,
it doesn't always have to be that negative
definitely.
thing.
But it's, I think, kind of like what you expect to do as well,
Yeah.
right? Like nobody goes to a therapist because it's going so well, you know? And I
Hi.
just need somebody to share it with,
Hello again.
right? But actually, that would be great, right?
I
To like
know.
just share all of your wins and like to share what went well in the day, in the week, and like just those little daily wins.
Someone told me something very interesting, actually, how it's important to have therapists because it's almost like a parental figure in a
Yeah.
way. I was like, okay, I'm going to book a therapy session now
Okay.
because I've really liked that side of it. Because I have this thing myself where, because of some, of childhood, I've
Yeah.
been trying to, almost redesign myself in a
Okay.
way.
Yeah.
And then in a way, you become maybe a little too independent.
I think it's great to have your things together, right? But then to also learn how to receive love and
Yeah.
to like learn how to lean on people as well.
In terms of hypnotherapy, what do you see is the biggest change, a shift that
Mm.
happens with people? And also, because some people might
Mm.
hear hypnotherapy and think, oh, is this the thing where they control my body? because
Yes, it is. No.
that's the thing, right? Everyone you tell that to who's seen
Yeah.
movies, they might have that idea of
Mm-hmm.
it. So they're like,
Yeah.
oh, is that the, maybe do I go past life regression because that's how
It
out of
actually
body
can
it is?
happen.
No way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah, it's very interesting because like with hypnotherapy, you first focus on like one topic, right? You try to see like where certain patterns are coming from, you know? For example, in relationships or in work life or in any kind of like insecurity that you have. And then a part of the hypnotherapy session is to see where it's coming from. So it's partially a regression. But sometimes with the regression, somebody can go back to a past life. It usually doesn't happen. I think I only had it, let's say, like once or twice over the past 5 years, I believe. Yeah, something like that. But it can happen. But it's not like I encourage it, you know?
That's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And is hypnotherapy something that everyone will be susceptible to?
I think it's important that you trust the person in front of you because if you don't feel safe and if you don't actually want to see certain things, then it's harder, of course. So far, like I've never had that somebody didn't go back to like scenes or memories, and it always has been, like eye opening. So I think it's just important to first like create that connection so somebody feels safe. Because I think if you don't feel safe, then also you cannot really receive as many insights.
I was doing
Yeah.
some meditations,
Mm-hmm.
but it was hypnotherapy
Okay.
meditation. And when I started, because it was a new thing, the
Okay.
first few times I remember going so deep. It was like
Huh.
a deep meditation.
Yeah.
Hypnosis with affirmations.
Okay.
It was about money,
Mm.
relationships, and for the first week I found it extremely useful, but because it was an app,
Okay.
I afterwards, after the novelty wore off, I was like,
Yeah.
I started getting distracted because it was an in-person
Mm.
session,
Yeah.
but at the same time it was quite powerful.
Yeah. Maybe like what could have happened, if you did it for a couple of weeks.
I
Maybe you
know.
should try it again.
So that's
Yeah.
a curious thing, the subconscious mind, because
Mm.
that's where everything lives, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like they say that 95% of everything that you think, do, and feel is actually stemming from your subconscious mind. So, actually, when you feel like super anxious for something, to really think of the feeling that you feel in that moment, to think about what are you believing in this moment. So, for example, if you think about before the podcast, like what were you believing? You can think of that. And then you can ask yourself, where in the past did I feel similarly? And then you can like speak to your younger self because in those past experiences, you've also created beliefs for yourself, and those are like saved in the subconscious mind. And those beliefs are triggering you as well in this moment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because I know it's, oh, I can't do that.
Mm.
It's
Just
too
like
big.
when,
Exactly.
yeah.
When I was little and I was told that, oh, no, no, that's too big. That's,
Mm.
why do you want this? You can't do that. That
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then that becomes your understanding of
Mm.
the world and of your
Yeah.
capabilities.
Your
So,
kind of program, right?
you know,
Yeah.
I used to sing in high school
Mm.
and I was quite good. I would, go to concerts, but I told my family that I was singing and
Mm.
I was going to have a concert and
Yeah.
they were invited and they were like, "Oh, well, you can sing." But no, or was it either that or but do you not need to be able to sing?
Yeah, that's not really nice.
They're
Yeah.
not to blame because of how they were brought up themselves, but in my upbringing, it
Mm.
was I need to see the proof, and even if I see the proof, then actually it's a difficult thing to do. Even if
Yeah.
you can sing, there are so many obstacles, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I grew up with. So then
Mm.
everything that is new, that's
Yeah.
expansive, becomes this scary thing
Mm-hmm.
because
Can
it's
you
not
do
possible.
that?
Exactly, it's
Yeah.
not possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible. So then you have to change that with the
Mm-hmm.
subconscious. And
Yeah.
the funny thing with affirmations and why hypnotherapy is so
Mm-hmm.
good, you can't just say, I can do this on the conscious or the surface level
Yeah.
because You don't really believe it deep down.
Yeah. You know, like a part of you might believe it, but there's like another part
Yeah.
that has so much, let's say, evidence of that's not true. So that's why it's so powerful to work through the fake evidence of why you cannot do it, you know, to really change the belief.
When you work with people on beliefs,
Hmm.
what's the first thing or how does it work? I'm quite curious.
For example, one lady, she wanted to become pregnant, but she did like so many IVFs, right? And she still couldn't get pregnant. We worked on like seeing if there's like any kind of block underneath to see if that is like blocking her from feeling fully open for becoming pregnant. This sounds like very woo woo. Like, but we just wanted to see, like, is there anything that might be blocking you, right? So for her, for example, like, she was actually really afraid to be a bad mom because her parents didn't treat her in the right way. And then, like, after 6 months, she actually got pregnant. And it can be a coincidence, you know, but it's at least like interesting because she had been trying for years before. Also, the mind body connection is very strong. But so, yeah, we start with like a pattern to see like what is something that is really like blocking you, making you feel insecure. And then it usually goes into like regression or like seeing what this part, this kind of obstacle is doing for you. Because like even the patterns that we have that we find annoying, they serve us on a deeper level. For example, one girl that I helped, she was always procrastinating. Actually, on a deeper level, it helped her, you know, because the belief in her need was that if she would give it her all and still not succeed, she would feel not good enough. But if she would procrastinate, she could blame it on the procrastination. And this is something that she didn't think of consciously, of course, but on a subconscious level. So I was trying to make her feel safe from not being good enough.
To be
It's
honest,
like,
I feel like a lot of people have that. I
yeah,
don't feel good enough.
yeah, that's often like the main issue if you go back, like not feeling good enough, not feeling like you fit in, not feeling like you belong, those kind of topics. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone might have it. If you go into a room, let's say you're at a networking event with
Mm.
entrepreneurs and everyone is an expert,
Yeah.
and you go to speak to people, essentially, everyone might feel anxious
Mm-hmm.
at some point
Yeah.
before a talk, before speaking to someone they admire, before
Mm.
doing something.
Yeah.
Because we're human after all, right?
Yeah.
That's a normal thing to have.
Yeah.
But again, like I said with my anxiety, we're not comfortable around that.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Again, it feels like that bee sting because it reminds me of
Mm.
the past me
Yeah.
that lived in that full
Yeah.
time.
So it's the fear of going back, right?
Exactly, I
Yeah.
guess so. And it's a fear of not expanding
Mm.
if I allow that
Yeah.
anxiety in my experience.
Okay. But what if maybe you can fall back for a moment and be for a moment that old version of yourself and then you get so fed up with it. So then you expand even more, you know? Like
I love
sometimes you
that.
never know like how it goes eventually or like what purpose it can have.
I heard a lot about the power of inner child work, and
Mm-hmm.
I've done a little bit of that, and I noticed such a big difference. Is there something that's an exercise that you can give to
Mm.
people? Because for me, it was a safety thing.
Mm.
I would envision my inner child and hold her hand and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, listen, you're safe. I'm here for you."
Yeah.
Because she was alone when, when she was
Yeah.
little, essentially. So that really kind of, over a period of time, made me feel
Mm.
safe.
Yeah.
And I find it so powerful as an exercise. What would you suggest? If
Mm-hmm.
people are quite, oh, I don't understand. What do you mean? Like, envision myself.
I think sometimes in the beginning, like if you find it really hard to envision yourself or to visualize, like it's good to do it with somebody else who can like guide you through it, and then afterwards you can do it by yourself, so it's easier. But I think one thing that also really helps with the inner child, like upgrading the inner child, let's say, is to really show your younger self, like to visualize that you're seeing your younger self and to show what your life is right now. To really show like everything that you've achieved, like the obstacles that you've overcome, like everything that is going better than you thought it would be, to really show like, oh, actually, like life is going pretty well, you know, don't worry, you'll be okay. Also feel that in your body, because I think oftentimes like maybe life is totally different, but we still feel the same way as that we felt back then, because the change is happening so gradually and you don't really notice it, and then before you know it, you're like a lot better, let's say, than before, but you don't feel that way, right? Like can
Yeah.
be. So that's why it's so good to like show to yourself, to your younger self, like what you're actually doing and what you're capable of, to really make sure that he or she also feels that way and to understand the future.
Well, that's the
Okay.
funny thing about progress, right?
Yeah.
If it's not this dynamic change or dramatic,
Mm.
drastic, we're like, oh, I don't think I've done enough, or I
Mm.
don't think I've changed enough.
But it's almost
Because
always gradual.
it's gradual and we slowly get used to it. So then
Mm.
we need it to be bigger,
Yeah.
better,
Yeah.
bigger, better.
But why?
Well, why?
Right?
Love that.
I was thinking about this today. Like, I was thinking about, like, why do we want to achieve certain things, right? It's just because you hope to feel a certain way when you do it, right?
Yeah.
But actually, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can allow yourself to already feel that way right now. I was also thinking, like, I hope this podcast goes well. And then I was thinking, why? Because then I feel good about myself, right? But can I allow myself to feel good about myself if I totally, you know, like mess it up?
We're recording this in January 2026.
Mm.
And January is a big month because it's the
Mm.
beginning of the new year.
Yeah.
So it comes with all these expectations.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I had these plans for myself
Oh.
for certain things, and I was very stuck in my mind that I'd do them. And then I was like, I don't think this particular one is right, actually. And because I thought that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like I went back on myself. And
Went
it's
back on
January.
yourself?
Yeah. And it's like January. What do you mean you're not gonna follow through? Because but you've been wanting to do this thing for so long and now you're not gonna do it? Or this is not happening. This is not how January is supposed to start. So I had all these
Mm.
thoughts, and then it took me a moment, but then I was like, no, it's okay. You have to be comfortable with the adjustment
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you can't control the process, right?
definitely. You can plan for it. Like, it's also good to, like, you know, really actively pursue it, but at the same time be open for change and adjustment as well. Yeah.
How flexible or inflexible you
Mm-hmm.
are reflects on how
Yeah.
much you've dealt with things.
I think that makes sense, because if you want to have a lot of control, you
Yeah,
basically don't really feel safe, right? So then you need to control the outer
yeah.
world, because you cannot like control your thoughts, let's say.
I wanted to ask you, what has your relationship with modeling been like
Huh.
over the years?
Over the years, yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, like totally in the beginning, it was more like something fun that I wanted to try out. And I didn't really see it as something that I would do for like a really long time, you know? So then it was more like kind of light. So I thought I'm just going to take like one gap year from my studies and then I will just go back again. But then like I just kept going and I just kept modeling. And then at some point, it created a lot of anxiety, because like if you know, if you start with modeling and like just for the first few months you're not like earning money with it, it's okay, you know. But then if you do it for a couple of years and the income is still like unstable, like it really starts to like influence how you feel about yourself, at least for me at the time. At some point I also started to do other things on the side, and that made me feel a lot lighter, because then you can still like fulfill your creativity and like do what your soul wants to do, let's say. And at the same time, you're not like dependent on modeling, because to be dependent on something that is so unstable is quite nerve-wracking.
Well, yeah, I think that was one of the reasons that my relationship with it has been up and
Mm.
down because first of all, I couldn't start modeling when I wanted to
Mm.
because many reasons, but I wanted to start when I was 20 maybe.
Okay.
And that was in fashion.
Yeah.
And all these accidents would happen. So, well,
Mm.
some were not accidents, some were just, things I was told by agencies. But I remember once, this is a funny story. Can share some funny stories with modeling. I was on a train
Mm.
eating a McDonald's,
Okay.
I was eating my McDonald's
Mm-hmm.
and someone very quizzically looked at me. Not a very positive look. And they're like, do you want to be a model? And I was like, you don't really seem like you want me to be a model.
You're like,
Are you sure you're asking me? And they sent me a card, and they were from a big agency.
mm.
But because of the circumstances around this meeting, I never actually went.
Huh.
I remember also a friend applied to that same agency, and
Mm-hmm.
they called her to fly to New York for a casting.
For casting,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
And
Wow.
her battery died. She wasn't signed with them. She just applied, and I guess she fit a profile of a
Mm-hmm.
casting they had. 15 minutes later, she charges her phone. She calls them, and they were like, sorry, like, we're not interested anymore.
15 minutes later.
And that's how fickle, especially the fashion industry is.
Yeah.
So I remember I never really got in fashion. There were so many different instances. Once I applied for an agency and they told me I'm already too old. I think I was 22, 23, and too big because my hips were like 30.
Sorry that I'm laughing, but it's just like
Something.
it's so depressing, right? You're
I
22 and too
know.
old, too big.
But that's the thing. I remember being 21, going to all the fashion agencies. They're like,
Yeah.
listen, you're a bit too old for this.
I heard the same in a way, like not like directly, but like, like the Polaroid video. When I
Yeah.
was in Paris, I was 22. They also told me to not like say
You
my
should
age anymore.
retire. You should retire at this
Yeah.
point.
Don't say your age anymore, darling, in the video. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm
Oh, I don't know
22
what I
years
should
old.
do now.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. There's so many interesting stories, and that's one of the reasons that my relationship with modeling has been.
Mm.
But at the same time, I really loved that I started modeling so late.
Yeah.
First of all, because it feels everyone was telling me I was older 6 years before that,
Yeah, it's so
and I was like,
funny.
I'm starting now.
But things have changed, like the
I know, right?
yeah.
And then still keep going, and if anything, I'm working more.
Mm.
So on that end, I'm really fascinated by it.
Mm.
And I think it's half my own attitude because before I was always comparing myself to other models
Oh.
because obviously models are gorgeous and you go into a
Mm.
room, especially if you do fashion, you go to these castings that I don't
Yeah.
go to anymore. But they're like 100 people and they're all beautiful and you're like,
But that must mean you're beautiful too.
and you're like, I should go home now.
Or you can think that you're beautiful too, otherwise you wouldn't be in that room.
I was too traumatized at that time to think
Mm.
such dramatic
Yeah.
thoughts.
Dramatic.
I know nowadays I'm like, you know what? I don't compare myself. Well,
Yeah.
obviously I do sometimes, but
Yeah. It's like
yeah.
90% of the time you don't do it, let's say.
I think one of the reasons that I had this craving for
Mm.
purpose was because I lived in Lisbon and I moved back 2.5 years ago. And initially I was just working because I needed to
Yeah.
work, I needed to be busy. But after that, when there was some empty space, I was like, I kind of need to find my purpose. And I'd never had that
Mm.
space before.
Yeah.
I was lonely as well, even though you're always surrounded by people.
But it doesn't mean that you feel connected, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a big interconnection between
Mm-hmm.
connection and purpose.
Yeah. Like your purpose makes you feel connected.
Because if you don't really know who you
Mm.
are, how can you authentically connect with other human beings?
Yeah. But in a way, like who you are is also always changing.
You're still modeling.
Yeah. I'm still modeling, but it's more like on the background. So it's more like when it's kind of convenient.
But that's the best.
Yeah. I was thinking about it today. Like I've been modeling since like 2013,
Oh,
which is crazy. Such a long time. And I still love to do it, but more when it's something that I do as like a side thing. So it's really fun and like I think it's also very connecting for me to do on the side because like the sessions that I guide with hypnotherapy, EMDR, NLP, like these kind of modalities, like it can be sometimes a bit heavier as well, if you do this all day long. So it's also nice to have something on the side that is very light, very social, and kind of, mm, doesn't bring any responsibility with it.
But
you
that
know?
is actually true.
Yeah.
There's no responsibility.
Worst case, that picture doesn't look good, you know?
I remember for years I thought you only should want to do
Mm,
one thing, because I could be a little bit like that sometimes, like rigid with thoughts. So
yeah.
I was like, you should only really do one thing.
Mm,
And then actually realizing
mm,
when you do multiple things, you're not relying on either. And then you can be the most authentic to yourself, because
mm,
you just don't have the
mm.
space or the time to say yes to everything
Yeah.
in either field. So you'll only say yes or do the
It's what you really
things.
want to do. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it also fulfills like different parts of you. But at the same time, I think it's also good to focus, you know? So yes, do whatever you want to do, but
Do
also
whatever you want
have
to
like also like a little bit of a North Star, you know?
do.
Like
Yeah.
there are limits too. Yeah.
There's this thing that I believe in. If you keep saying yes to things,
From a people pleasing
or
way, right?
even to, oh no, it's work, right?
Yeah.
But then your nervous system is not going to get comfortable
Mm.
with the version of you that you want to be.
Like it
So
doesn't trust you in a way then, right?
it requires expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So it requires a lot of self
Mm.
belief.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you keep saying yes to everything, then there's literally no space for expansion.
Yeah,
So then maybe the nervous system feels blocked or
yeah.
yeah.
If you start saying no at the beginning, it's very scary.
Mm.
You're like, why am I saying no? I mean, and there's empty space, there's maybe lack of money,
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty, especially
Yeah.
with all these creative industries.
Yeah.
But after a while, when
Mm.
you really start becoming
Yeah.
comfortable, things come your
Come
way.
your way,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
because you're narrowing the gap between the present
Mm-hmm.
version of you and the future version
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah. And like how can you get to that future version of you if you keep doing the same things, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And then you also kind of like show the world who you are if you say no to certain things and yes to other things. Like people will know you for something then. And then it automatically just comes into that flow, right?
yeah. Yes.
But the flow only starts if you, if you step into it.
And that could be with rates as well. I've spoken to a lot
Mm.
of freelancers who say they wanted to increase their rates,
Mm.
and then there was a lot of discomfort, and maybe some people would not be their clients anymore. And
Yeah.
but there's that belief in your self worth as well. Like,
Yeah.
what am I actually worth? And this,
Yeah.
the person who charges this is not me anymore. Or
Yeah.
so you have to allow that expansion to happen.
Definitely. And also feel secure in it, right?
And then you have to just train your nervous system.
At the same time, like you can train your nervous system to feel more safe and it's important. But I think also like we're still human, you know? So I think we all need a bit of like the feeling of safety. So if that looks like a middle step for you, for example, to first like increase your rates by 10%, let's say, you know, like it doesn't need to be that black and white,
Yeah.
I think. I feel like, you know, like sometimes you also hear people say, like, just quit your job immediately and start your business and just, you know, then you will fully go for it and it will work out. It can, you know, and that might be the way for some people, but I think for a lot of people, it's also not. So I think it's also good to always see what works for you, you know? Like,
Yeah.
what do you need to feel safe in
Yeah.
order to expand?
Is there an exercise you can do to kind of
Mm.
give yourself a daily dose of safety?
There is this technique, I think it's called the freeze. I, I don't know the exact name right now, but it's from a hypnotherapist. And basically, what you do is that you put your hands on your heart, you breathe in deeply into your heart space, like three deep breaths, and then you think of a happy memory, and then you really like feel it, and then you totally forget about the memory, and then you imagine that your heart is telling you what you need right now. I know it sounds again like a bit like spiritual, but like it's really interesting to see then what answer comes up because that really shows you what you need in the moment. Like even when I do this exercise with like very rational people as well, like they feel like answers coming up, you know? And I think it's very beautiful because then you know what you need in that moment to like ground yourself to in that way feel more safe, right? Because I think to ground is to feel safe from that space, it's easier to grow. If you can do that every day, for example, just to check in with yourself what you need, and just every day to like be real with yourself and be kind with yourself, and therefore to feel that you can trust yourself in a way as well, because you're giving yourself what you need.
But that's trust, right? If we
Yeah,
don't trust ourselves, how can
yeah,
we trust anyone else?
mm, definitely, yeah.
And the grounding thing is quite important. I remember when I was little in Bulgaria, which is where I'm from,
Mm,
um, I would run outside with my bare feet, and
mm,
then you're like in contact with the ground,
yeah,
with earth, and
yeah.
it's something that we don't really do as much.
No, definitely. That's also very grounding, right?
Yeah.
Just to be in nature.
Living in a busy city or being in a busy city, let's say you have to do something and you want to be energetically quite calm when
Oh,
whether it's a casting, job interview,
yeah.
podcast recording, but you might be getting on the tube and there's so many people and everyone is stressed and there are delays and things are happening around
Mm-hmm.
you, and you might get completely overwhelmed by these experiences you're having because the surrounding is not meant to make you
Calm.
calmer.
Yeah. I think also in general we're just so overstimulated, with our
Yeah.
phones, and like there's just so much happening all the time. Like when you're walking through the city, like there's so many noises, right, that you're not even aware of, but like your brain is still like registering it all, right?
You have to, find ways to
Mm-hmm.
find the calm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously so addictive as well because
Definitely.
when you're
That's
on your phone, you have this
dopamine
exactly
release. Yeah.
so much, and then you're like
Yeah.
scrolling,
Yeah.
scrolling,
I think especially when you feel bad, then you kind of like feel more the need to like be on your phone.
scrolling.
That's
Yeah.
what I felt with myself, like when I don't want to do something, like maybe when you have like a big task, but you don't know exactly how to do it, then it's so easy to be on your phone. And then you feel even worse afterwards. And then it's like this kind of loop.
What's your opinion on social media,
Hmm.
using social
Yeah.
media? Because that's also quite, you know, people have like a lot of different.
Like most things, social media isn't inherently like bad or good. It's just like how you use it. But I do think that we need to have a lot of willpower for it, which is so difficult, you know? So I think the way that it's designed, it's too addictive. And at the same time, social media can be used for so many good things. So I think it's also something that I'm personally very grateful for. Like it really helps me with my work.
I mean, we
Yeah.
met on social media.
Yeah.
I met so many people on social
Mm-hmm.
media. I get work from social
Yeah.
media. And at the same time, there's that scrolling,
Yeah.
which is where it's that brain rot scrolling. Sometimes you catch yourself and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I doing?
But can you like create like a tiny habit for yourself that really is like a little bit of improvement there, and just to like build upon that?
Because it's so addictive. And then you
Mm-hmm.
just go on Instagram to reply to a message. And 20 minutes later, you're like, why did I come here again?
Yeah. The,
Because I have to reply. Oh, I had to reply to a
and I
message.
didn't reply yet.
No.
Yeah. No, it's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why it's so good to be also super intentional with that, which is
Yeah.
so hard.
Yeah.
I have an app actually, it's called Present, and it literally like blocks your apps.
Oh.
So it's very useful, yeah.
Is there anything about hypnotherapy that might surprise people?
Hmm. I think it has got such a funny rap from TV, but I think it might surprise people that it's more like a kind of like deep guided visualization. So it's a lot simpler than it sounds like, but it really helps you to like understand yourself on a deeper level. So I think that's something that might surprise people. And also that it's actually really effective because like you don't talk every week or like every few weeks about your problems, and like it's more that you understand them in the first place and then you really focus on the future. So what I do is that I record an audio for people to listen to for a few weeks and to really like imagine their future self. So it's something that you can actually really easily do from home. It might surprise people that it's like so easy to kind of like shift into that new version if you like, if you're very consistent with it.
It's something that doesn't take too much in a way, but
Hmm.
help us reach that subconscious, and then you might see a change in yourself, in your behavior.
Yeah. Sometimes you just see the change after a few weeks, how you like maybe reply differently in a situation. And then people can also be surprised, like, oh, actually it shows up in life that way. The change, the inner shift.
And also because it's subconscious, you might not
Hmm.
be able to reach that with someone by talking.
Sometimes it can, I think, if you really have like an aha moment, then it can really fundamentally change your beliefs as well. But often we're not really aware of what we believe on a deeper level. So then you're not really like speaking in therapy with, let's say, like you need to speak to the subconscious mind, right? And then if you're like talking like in a normal session, you're like more speaking to the conscious mind. So that way it's a bit less effective, in my opinion.
Affirmations, which ones are better to say than others? Because obviously there is such a thing you can say, I'm successful, or I'm so confident,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm this and that. And that might feel very, very far
Mm-hmm.
from where you are right now.
Yeah.
So, what's an affirmation to say that would feel a little
Mm-hmm.
more accessible?
Yeah, like maybe something that, like when you say it, you can really feel it in your body that it's real, like it makes you feel like excited, you know? So indeed, like something that is not like a too big of a step. But maybe in some moments you do feel that you can make that big step. So then it's okay too. Personally, like I love to visualize
Yeah.
because then you can really connect with the feeling of how you want to feel. And that also really helps you to like program it into the body and to feel that way the next time too when you're in a similar situation as that you're visualizing. So I think visualizing and hypnosis is like more powerful than affirmations. However, I think we're all different and everyone resonates with something different. You know what I mean? Like for one person, that might help better. For the other person, something else might help better. Focus on what feels, like as expansion, but also real. Because if you're, let's say, lying to
Yeah.
yourself, then I think it's not as effective because then it doesn't really feel real to your body.
If I'm not feeling great myself and I say, I am confident,
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel this weird sensation because
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it. So then why am I saying that
Yeah,
nonsense, right?
yeah,
That's how the body is reacting.
yeah.
But you might say something like, oh, this is something actually I saw on the internet I quite liked.
Mm.
You can say something like, I have dealt with similar things in the past
Mm.
and I'm still here.
Yeah,
Or I managed the situation and you know, it had a good effect
yeah,
or
exactly.
something like that. So you
That's
almost,
real.
exactly,
Yeah,
that's not even
yeah,
affirmation.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
just saying things
It's like
that
a
you've done.
reminder. Yeah.
So I saw this on Threads, which I quite like actually.
Mm.
You
I don't
use it
know.
because it's writing. So
Uh,
everyone is just writing. There are no
is it
pictures.
kind of like Twitter in a way, or?
Maybe my algorithm is different, but I just get
Mm.
like a lot of spiritual, positive
Mm.
things. I saw that and I was like, this makes so much sense because
Mm.
this is not really an affirmation. That you're just telling your body, it's okay because we've done this
Yeah.
before. There'll always be something
Similar.
similar.
Yeah, definitely. In that way, you're kind of more like being a good friend, right? Who is like reminding you of what you've already done instead of like saying something very positive and empowering, but that is actually not real.
I'm so confident.
Yeah.
But then, well, I don't really feel like that, for example, at this moment,
Yeah.
right?
That's why I like the EFT tapping so much because it's so real.
That's another thing that sometimes might be
Mm.
overwhelming for people who
Yeah.
have not really done much before. There's a lot.
Yeah. I also wanted to say, like, if there's any kind of video on EFT tapping that somebody wants, just let me know because then I can also just record it.
There's a ton of everything.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
sometimes you might get overwhelmed in your
Mm-hmm.
attempt to better yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it can be a bit of a trap, to be honest, as well,
Yeah.
to always like better yourself. I think if we can learn to like really feel our feelings and to kind of just accept them and not identify with it, I think that's the simple truth that we also need. but by working also through like, older traumas and like limiting beliefs from the past, it also helps to not overthink in the future. So it's kind of like a double thing.
I have this problem, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
like I was talking to you about it. I had this anxiety, and then I was like, why am I feeling? Nobody else feels anxiety.
You're the only one in the whole world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm the only human being who gets
Yeah.
anxiety.
You're
But
the chosen one.
that's the thing. We have this thing as human beings. We
Mm-hmm.
get very self-absorbed,
Yeah, yeah.
and if it's a trauma or a bad thing or a feeling or a
Mm-hmm.
sensation, we start thinking of it as the center of the
Mm.
universe.
Yeah, because we're so hyper focused, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I think it's so nice also to do acts of kindness, to really focus on the people around you, because I think anxiety is also really created by kind of like, it's almost like a bit selfish, you know what I mean? Like, because we're so focused on ourselves,
Yeah.
because we're so focused on that we want to do this thing perfectly. But when we like focus on like other people's lives, then it's kind of like, I don't know, there's this word sonder, which means like the awareness of that everybody's having their own life happening at the same time with your life, like everybody's having their own family, their own friends, their own problems, and I feel like often we're just so focused on our own and just being the main character, but there are so many main characters, you know? And like that realization really helps, I think, as well to lower the anxiety through the acts of kindness as well.
We talked about this before we started
Mm.
recording, and
Yeah.
I mentioned that 15 years ago, before a shoot, I went to have a coffee, and the barista did their, coffee art, and
Yeah.
I think they also gave me the coffee for free, and they were so kind,
Mm.
and their whole demeanor was so friendly and
Yeah.
so lovely, and it wasn't in a flirtatious way or anything like that.
That's the best, right? Because then it feels so
Exactly.
genuine and
And I
so,
still
yeah.
remember this
Mm.
15 years on.
Yeah.
There are always bits of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Could be something
Always.
that you would not notice normally because
Mm-hmm.
you're, too focused on your path, which like let's say we're rushing in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
we're not noticing things.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually spoke to someone who does street photography, and they were saying how doing street photography really forces them to be in the moment because you
Mm.
have to notice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the only thing you do.
You
You
have to be
notice
present.
what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, presence is so important.
So where can people find you?
They can find me on my Instagram, Hypnocraft by Alice, as well as on Spotify, Hypnocraft.